Good afternoon, everybody. Fantastic to have all of you join us this afternoon for this panel. And we have a great panel with some esteemed speakers. The topic of today, obviously, is increasing profitability by connecting online offline. This is our entire, how does profitability get affected by omni-channel retail, especially in the post-COVID world. So we'll talk about that a bit more with all our speakers. Just a quick intro of all the folks on the panel. I'm Mukul Bafana. I'm founder and CEO of OMUNI, also known as Internet. We have Ankur Bhatia on the call, who's the CEO of Columbia Sportswear. Kavindra Mishra, who's the MD of the House of Anita Dongre. Manisha Sangani, who is a director and heads at Just Lifestyle. We have Satyen Momaya, the CEO of Celio. And last but not the least, Lalit Agarwal, the CMD of Mart Retail. So guys, thanks for joining. Fantastic group of folks to have this discussion with. Just to kind of give an overview, we're talking about menswear, we're talking about women's wear, we're talking about accessories, we're talking about sportswear, and we've covered, brands and retailers on this panel, and we've covered everything from kind of, I would say, premium all the way down to value. So I think it's a good mix of folks for this discussion. I want to lay the context a bit and then jump into some questions. We'll keep our questions going for about 50 minutes, and then we'll switch to some audience questions in the last 10 minutes of the conversation, if that's okay with you guys. So guys, to set context a bit more, post-COVID, we're in a world where omni-channel retail, this coming together of online, offline, is making a much more significant difference in our business than probably pre-COVID. I think all of us can nod our heads that the imperative to bring online, offline together has kind of struck a new chord post-COVID than it was probably pre-COVID. It was a nice to do, possibly for leading brands like you guys, you've been thinking about for a while, but for a lot of brands and retailers, it was still a nice to do thing. Now it's become more of an imperative that it's a must do from a consumer's point of view to really give them various avenues to shop on their own terms, especially giving safety concerns in mind. So we live in this new reality, which obviously means a change in direction, a change of thinking, probably a doubling down on the omni-channel roadmap from your points of views. So I want to start there first, guys, which is, just for the audience's point of view, would love to have each of you spend a minute or two to describe, what has been this transition in your roadmap, in your thinking, in your leadership thought when it comes to what do you want to do in omnichannel, and maybe give us a quick overview of sort of where you are and what are you planning as we look forward. So I'll start just with the grid. We'll start at the bottom right instead of the top in the cell. So Lalit, you're on the bottom right there of my grid. Would love to hear from you.
Hey, Mukul. Hi. Good morning. I know where you are, but yeah, good day to everyone. And
good evening.
How are you? I hope everyone is safe, sound, and thank you for inviting me on this call. Definitely, we are coming out of a hard time and challenging time. So, but yeah.
But you're smiling the most, and there's a reason for that. So we'll talk about that later.
Definitely happier things are happening and better things are happening in the last 6-7 weeks. So we are seeing some comeback and recently surprised with the comeback compared to the 20 lockdown, and now everyone sitting here must be agreeing to me that there is a good decent surprise comeback which has happened. Not only about customer coming back, sales coming back, but also the whole activity coming back. COVID going down, so has helped us a lot. But yeah, definitely on this whole piece of OMUNI, I would say OMUNI because of Mukul, and so that's how Mukul names his product. But yeah, so that's the channel to look forward, and definitely larger mind share has been taken by the OMUNI piece from the leadership positions, and we have all been able to focus very highly on OMUNI piece because also we had too much of time, and offline businesses did not give us those kind of returns and then those kind of engagement, so that we could get engaged in those kind of activities. But yeah, definitely this was more time to sit back, relax, understand how useful and how much effort could be put. Largely as being an offline retailer and a brick and mortar retailer, we are and we will remain there. But we do understand that there is a need, and we started this journey almost 2 years back, and we have integrated all our stores and integrated all our inventory, and we are trying to do it from our own brand portal, our store portal. But recently we also experimented with Amazon just recently. So there are definitely a lot of fundamental issues that we are facing with the process, with the inventory, with the customer, with the understanding on the profitability. If that point is very important, because ultimately, even now, for a value retailer and a value retailer like us, who has an average selling price which is around 300 rupees for an apparel, definitely profitability is a distant dream in this online business or omni business. So, but yeah, it is definitely helping customer a lot. It is bringing a lot of information to the customer. We are seeing a huge customer base coming in also from towns where we are not present, also from areas where we are not present. So we are seeing like the third best city for us is Hyderabad, where we are not present. So no, those kind of good things are happening where a lot of new understanding about customer is generated. A lot of new existing customers are getting benefited, both from the point when they are in the store as well as when they go away from the store. There are a lot of conversions and a lot of feedbacks that we've got in terms of when the customer went back to their villages and could not buy when they were in the store, could do their complete their journey once they went back. So those are some of those lost customer which we feel were very important, and those added to their convenience. And especially during lockdown, we really pulled it very high, and we got the benefit, whether it is direct omni channel through our portal, or even video shopping, WhatsApp shopping, or home deliveries, or bringing in multiple other phone call shopping, and other stuff, where our store team also went very high on talking to the customer, taking them on the platform, asking them to visit and view those products, helping them in whatever they needed, whether it was kirana or whether it was fashion. Both was something that we did. We also experimented a hyper local option with some other technology partners, and that also worked well for us. So there is a lot of potentiality. There is a lot of learning that we got. Definitely, this needs to come up, and there is huge business that the others are doing. And we need to learn a lot, learn more on how to become profitable in this omni space. And definitely, pandemic is helping us to look at this in a much more focused way.
Thanks for that. That's fantastic, and it's refreshing to hear what you said, especially from a Bharat point of view, right? The consumers that you guys are serving, they're adopting channels like chat and talking to digitally to store associate. That's a very refreshing thought, because we are seeing that shift not just in India but also in Bharat, like you're saying, which is fantastic. Kavi, I'm going to jump to you. You're next. Would love to hear from you. You guys obviously have been on a longer roadmap in omni-channel. It's been going on for a while. Would love to hear from you in terms of what's the state of the union at Anita, Dongre, and how things have changed in this post-COVID world from your omni-channel roadmap and push.
Thanks, Mukul. First of all, thank you for having us, all of us on the panel, and inviting us to share this thought process. So, Mukul, we have been there so our stores have been omni for a long time. So we have got maybe more than 250 odd stores, and around 120 odd stores are live as I speak through our website. Then we also have the Omni piece active with the Mintras of the world. So we have been in this journey for quite some time, and we have seen very good traction happening. See, one of the biggest things for all of us apparel retailers is that whether it's Omni or whether it's third uh, third party marketplace, I think at the end of the day, uh, they are catering to the choice of consumers in the environment in which she wants to shop in. I think for brands, it's very, very important that their omni play is very, very strong, because that is where you are able to give a experience to the consumer. So I think while we have had a very good traction over the past couple of years, I think this whole pandemic helped us to take some very I think it has just hastened the journey. So I think we right now the entire organization is going through one of the most ambitious programs, I think, which not many brands, I think, in the country are vouching for that. So we are doing a complete. So what we realize is that it's not only about the business which you are going through by basic things like we have been able, the customer can pick up the merchandise from the store. Or, I think it's the whole experience which has to really, yeah. So how can it be seamless? So what we have decided to do is we are now looking at having one single view of the consumer. So whether it's on our website or our backend or our POS, we are all going through a massive upgradation as we speak. So even in this pandemic times, we are looking at a very heavy investment in completely changing our backend and front end both. I think that project should be live in another 2 to 3 months time. And I think by October, November, we will be amongst the first brands in India to give a complete seamless experience to our consumer. So, for example, when you say that, you like if you go to a Zara app and you can pick from the store, then it's a seamless experience, right? Or you can order from the warehouse. So we are looking at that kind of efficiency, not through building through APIs only, but actually getting all the integrations done on the same platform. So we have tied up with Salesforce in our case. We have given them that project. So whether it's a POS, so I think there's a lot of investment happening and tech upgradation happening in the company. So principally, the idea which I have is that while we all look at offline stores and online, we have to do things which are seamless, and we have to sell full price, because as Lalit is saying, कि पैसा कैसे बनेगा, पैसा तो full price पे ही बनेगा. It will not happen selling at whichever format we are selling in right now on discounts, right? For that, you need to give the consumer an experience and a feel which she feels special, especially being women's wear. We have to give that kind of understanding to her, or that kind of experience to her. So we are looking at a massive upgradation of our existing. It's just quite good right now, but we are looking at a massive infrastructure upgradation, changing from POS to all parts of business, CRM, everything, and coming up with one seamless view of the consumer. So, for example, if she logs into our store or she comes to the website, we get a single view. So we don't lose any. We just don't lose the customer anywhere on our journey. So I think that's a big journey which we are on, and hopefully in 3-4 months time, whoever is and or the GD customer or Anita Dongre customer, she will get a fantastic view of how things are. So we have really doubled down on whatever we would have done maybe in normal times after a year or 18 months. We have just crashed it now.
Yeah, Kavit, fantastic, and it's great to hear. And obviously, you're a brand that, like we said, has gone through this journey earlier, and I think you're kind of later in the curve where you're thinking about rationalizing channels, profitability, probably even redoing the technology stack for a second time, like you're saying with Salesforce, to get some of the holy grail efficiencies of doing omni-channel, which is the customer, right? The data, the richness of unifying the customer across channels. So we'll talk about that a bit more later in the session. I want to switch gears to our retailer on the other side of the category, which is accessories. Manisha, would love to hear from you. You obviously have we were talking earlier, you have a unique model because you are a multi-brand retailer in malls. And obviously that in a category that is not apparel necessary, like Kavi and Lalit. Would love to hear from you. What have you guys been doing? What's the state of the union for Just Watches and Just Lifestyle? And how are things moving in the post-COVID world from an omni-channel point of view?
So for us, we were very lucky. Basically, we had launched our e-commerce site years ago, and it did not take off well. We were too early for when the run rate started. But luckily, the second generation, my daughters came in, and then with the IT head and all, we set up the third party on marketplace. We were already on the marketplace with our own proprietary brand, but now we went with all the brands in August. So we already had, footsteps in, and launched our website in Jan 20. So you can imagine, just as the pandemic hit, we were right. And we went pure omni. We did not have a warehouse or support system at our back end. So we were absolutely shocked when all the malls all India shut down. And it took us time to go and pull out stocks and restart as soon as the store started, because we are very heavy in north and south, and both these are always earliest to shut and last to open. But it worked, and we've had we made some smart decisions. We went with Shopify, so integrations are faster, being the first hit, and we had a lot of integrations on. So we got in, chat profile. So we took all the CRM that we had from our offline stores, and we connected with online, and we did a lot of social media marketing, which gave us good ROAS, because you see, they all had the profiles already, and it was very easy to target the right customers, and we could do that pretty well. We moved from cash business to prepaid, because being in premium and an accessory, we needed to ensure that the we did not have too many fakes and returns, and the transit period. So what happened, we found that the watches were more in the air, not being in the store, not being with the customer, commuting back and forth during the lockdown, and the logistics was slow. So that all these integrations really helped us. And as months go by, we've joined other integrations. We've gone prime on the marketplaces, on our own website. We've got a chat box, and a lot of things that are just being onboarded all the time. So I'm seeing a great takeoff very soon.
Sure.
And being the watch business, since there's sizing, so we gave the consumer the freedom that you can buy online, and if you wish, go to the store, size it, get it reduced, or return. And see, what happened was the consumer also got an opportunity to have a look at the store and convert if necessary, since we are in 37 cities across India. And these were the positive points that we've seen across our journey.
Fantastic. And that's great. And I think a lot of these things come back to the point of profitability, like you said, Manisha, new platform, investing in logistics, newer journeys. The category, like you said, has an inventory issue in terms of things moving in transit. So all of these obviously affect the bottom line. We'll come back to some of these discussion points later in the panel.
Yeah.
Our international brands, Ankur, Satyen, would love to hear from you, starting with Ankur, Colombia. How are things moving at your end, and what's the kind of post-COVID omni-channel reality with you guys?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mukul. Thanks to all the panel members and to all the attendees. So yeah, I think we have been a little bit slow to start as far as our journey is concerned, and we are still in the process of implementing the full stack of OMNI. But what's the good news is that, as Manisha was also saying, we were just in time with our basic capabilities as far as ship from store is concerned, or maybe endless aisle is concerned. The COVID pandemic actually helped. I think the pandemic has helped a lot of businesses transition digitally and move faster. All the IT plans which were laid out for the next 5 years, a lot of them have got implemented in the last 1 year itself. So that has been, I think, one of the only key positive things coming out of the pandemic. It's just that the transition has happened faster. So that we have definitely done over the last 1.5 years, and we are now doubling up our investments and our focus towards building more and more capabilities on the Omni front, because we believe that Omni is a very fancy word, but actually it's talking about the customer. The customer is in the center of the entire capabilities we are building, whether he is shopping on the website or on the store or on WhatsApp or any other medium, whether it is forward logistics or backward logistics, doesn't really matter as long as the customer is in the center of the things. I think Omni is going to be a key driving force for all businesses. And with rentals being what they are in malls, any additional business which we generate from the stores is only going to add into profitability. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Ankur. Satyen, would love to hear from you. What's new with Celio on the omnichannel front?
Yeah, Mukul. So Mukul, like what you said, really rightfully said, we actually started our blueprint for the Omni channel about 4 years back. So we put our blueprint and we said, what are the simple things on digital which we would really like to adapt? What are the 2-3 things which you'd really like to focus? So starting from getting our multi-channel act right. So we really wanted to get our own Celio.com website right, getting to the nitty-gritty of actually delivering to consumers, and then managing returns, managing that. So that was the starting part of it. And then we said, how can we really look at converging all these and getting our stores to get connected? And that was that was the starting point of saying endless aisle. How do we focus on getting the endless aisle going? Single inventory view. Then I think we were among the first few brands which actually, with the marketplaces, we were able to, about 2 years back, where we actually got our inventories from our stores and our warehouses integrated with the marketplaces, and we moved out from a model of actually having inventory stocked with them to a complete pure play marketplace model. And I think how that's really helped is, I think one, we've gone through consciously, we wanted to really look at inventory reduction, of not parking inventories. How do we improve productivity of inventory? So over the last 2 years, we've been able to reduce our inventory by about 20-25%, whereas we've grown at about 25% CAGR. So except for the lockdown periods. But so I think the whole intent was, how can we make inventory more productive with a single inventory view, while we also look at consumer convenience, where if there is a consumer who's going to get fulfilled from a store which is nearby to the marketplace where the order is got collected, I think you cut down on the time, which actually gets a better consumer experience. So that was the intent back then. And then obviously post pandemic, I think this is really come to help. I think we've really, some of our stores are clocking about 28-30% of our contribution has come through Omni. And I think it's been a big, so surviving, this has been a big survivor actually. So through Omni. So now we're really looking at tweaking, given that this has become an important part of our business. We are looking at what are the levers which will help profitability. What could we really do? Like what Kavi said, how can you really work on the experience? So in retail, we always know retail is all about detail. And in physical retail, we are so used to those SOPs of with our staff, with our consumer. How do we elevate the consumer shopping experience? But this is a little different world. And how do we really get our teams to understand the need of how can we deliver that consumer experience, and what are those fine levers which can actually help a seamless consumer experience. So these are certain things which you are trying to focus on. For example, redeeming the points which is got in the store when they've shopped online. How can they redeem those points? Can they return? Can they buy in the store and they buy online and can they return it in store? And I think those are small nitty-gritties which are currently working on. But I think Mukul, it's been right back. If you go back to our France, our headquarters in France today, the omni channel, there are 30% of the consumers who are buying online and picking up from store. There we see a bigger trend of consumers picking up from store. Yeah, we're not seeing that high here, but I think that's a big opportunity of upselling to those consumers actually. So that's a huge opportunity which we are seeing in the organization back home. So I think Mukul, it's been I think this journey has been very interesting. COVID has only accelerated this journey, and I think it's also helping the mindset change with our both front end employees and also at the back end.
Yeah. And all of you guys raised, thanks, Satyen, this is very helpful. And all of you guys, as I was listening to you guys, what was going through my mind is, all of you guys are at different places in this omni-channel journey. Some of you were luckier to start earlier. Some of you have really accelerated through COVID. But I think like all of our channels, right? I think as retailers, what we've appreciated is each new channel creates its own complexities and opportunities. And I think you go through a learning curve in terms of growing top line first and then focusing on rationalizing and growing the channel profitably. This happened to us 5-6 years ago when we tried marketplaces for the first time. Right? It became our discounting channel very quickly. And then over time, we rationalized it to becoming a full price channel, right? Like Kavi was mentioning earlier. And so I think that natural progression is going to happen in terms of trying out new channels, making the experience work for the customer, and then focusing on profitability. I think that's probably the discussion we'll have today. I heard you guys talk about a lot of things. For the sake of the audience, we'll do a quick lightning round. Because what I heard from you guys is different stages of journeys and maturity in terms of how the organization is doing omni-channel. So a quick lightning round, very simple for you guys. I'm going to name off a set of features or journeys that are available to your customers. And all you guys have to do is raise your hand if that is available today, if you've actually enabled that for your consumers. Fairly easy, nothing innocuous, right? So all you have to do is raise your hand if you agree with the statement. So we're going to start out with key journeys being offered to your customers. Where are you guys today as a brand? The first one, the simple one, e-commerce sites, apps. Do you guys have it? Everybody? Yeah, Satyen also, yeah. That's the easy one. In-store, save the sale, endless aisle, being able to open your entire inventory to a customer in the store across all your channels. Everybody, I figured that. Shopper store, having your store inventory visible to a customer digitally so that they can see real time what's in a store. We have 2-3 people there, okay. We love acronyms in this industry. So BOSS, buy online, ship from store. BOSS, buy online, ship from store, right? To help save with logistics costs and bottom lines. Okay, we have 4 people there. BOPIS, buy online, pick up in store. What Satyen mentioned. Buy online, pick up in store. Manisha, yeah, maybe not the most important journey in India, but definitely picking up in other parts of the world. Boris is an interesting one. Buy online, return or exchange in store. Right? You can return exchange in store. Manisha mentioned that earlier. Lalit, yeah. Okay. Also a very interesting journey in terms of creating footfalls, like Satyen mentioned, in a time where footfalls are lacking. Stores to marketplaces, connecting your store inventory to marketplaces. How many are doing that? 3. Okay, perfect. Next on the list is conversational chat or commerce, either bot-based or manned, right? Using conversational media as a commerce tool. So I think I heard some of these. Manisha and Lalit mentioned these two, yeah. So we have 2 folks there. Shop digitally via store associate. I think Lalit mentioned this also. Voice, video, chat with a store associate, helping them shop at the same time. Yeah, we have 4 folks there. Great. Now let's get to the harder parts, the stuff that I think Kavi and Satyen were talking about, right? Unified customer service. Who's doing that? One-stop customer service across all your channels. A customer can go to a call center, to a store and get the same service across channels.
We are in the process of going there.
Process, yeah. So kind of mid-raised hands there, okay.
So Mukul, there's a journey. I think that's the journey. We've not really been able to master it completely. So
yeah, so I made that caveat. These are some of the harder ones, which are probably getting to at some point, but we'll get there, I'm sure. Unified loyalty. Anybody doing a common online, offline loyalty program or CRM?
So
yeah, we have a couple.
It's 90% there, 10%.
Yeah. Okay, getting there. Unified promotions, very important, right? Maintaining promotions, pricing across channels. That's a profitability imperative for us. How many? Okay, we have 4 folks there. Unified cart, customer profile. Kavi, you mentioned this, right? Having a unified cart, having a unified customer profile, very important for creating a seamless experience, but also has profitability implications. How are we on that?
By October.
Anybody? By October, okay, getting there. And the holy grail, right? Unified personalization, recommendations, selling, right? Clienteling. October also for Kavi, okay? Good. So I think, this kind of gives us a general idea of the state of the union. And I think as we go down this list, the reason I have this list is all of these have profitability implications. All of these have a result on the bottom line. So let's switch gears to that, right? Let's start talking more about profitability. One last question for this lightning round, which requires you to obviously be honest in the spirit of this panel, but also raise your hand if this is actually happening for you, which is seeing profitability, bottom line, increase as your digital numbers are picking up. Yeah? No? So Kavi is nodding his head. So we have 2 people who are saying yes.
Not yet.
I would not
okay,
call Mukul as profitability increasing, but losses decreasing.
That's okay, fine. I'll requalify the questions. Profitability improving, not positive. So that's I think you're in that bucket then.
Mukul, I would like to add to that. Currently for e-commerce, there's a marketing part, which is where the bottom line reduces, but that marketing now. So there's a lot of offline marketing that has been shifted to digital marketing.
Correct.
So do balance, then it would, but
Manisha, I'll start with you actually. That was my last question in this next round, but let's tackle that upfront, which is there are many components of omnichannel profitability, right? And typically the one that we look at last is the marketing, right? Because we always say that's the last bucket after everything else is profitable, then marketing coefficient karte, right? So let's start there first. Let's change the order, Manisha. Let's start with you, which is when you start looking at marketing and the shift to digital. Are you getting better off or worse off from a profitability when it comes to marketing? Are you getting better performance out of your spends?
No, we're getting a better ROAS, return on our ad spend, because as we're learning and as we spend more, so Facebook and Google are understanding our customers and who's there and the target audience. So we are doing far better now. But you've got to keep it steady, because with these you can't suddenly increase, because they can't study your customers as fast. So it has to be steady, and you can't drop and increase also. So, depending on the pandemic and how we can ship the goods, it's a lot of ups and downs. I think it would have been much better, because suddenly, we have so many stores online and suddenly you drop one. So we tied up with a tech company that's where we have our sales managers who chat with the customer, and who can push if there is any discussion. So we've got a lot of personalization there. So that ad spend we've added to this.
Fantastic. No, that's good to hear. I hear Kavi nodding his head vehemently there. I see him, sorry, more than here. Kavi, you want to jump in? How are you guys thinking about the efficiency of your marketing spend?
Our ROAS is quite good. Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, and that's improved, I'm assuming, as you go digital?
It has improved. Also, we have got a very strong Instagram. We have got very strong Instagram handles, and the engagement rates are quite high. So we get a lot of organic visits, or not organic. We get a lot of visits through our Instagram page also. So I think that particular piece really works well for us. So
got it.
So
anybody else? Yeah. Anybody else want to jump in on the marketing point? If there's, if not, we don't have to have everybody jump in. But if anybody has a particular point on marketing, or we can jump to the next profitability point.
So Mukul, one good thing is basically with digital.
So I think Satyen, Ankur, you can go next. Satyen, go ahead.
Yeah, so I thought one good thing, Mukul, with the digital marketing shift is I think it's very clearly measurable. I think we've got a handle for all our social media sites landing onto our website. We've been able to, whatever investments we do, we are really able to, I think it's quite measurable. Very clearly, we are seeing improvement in the ROS on the returns which we've been making and what we've been getting. And I think that's given the mobile importance of mobile commerce, I think that's the way to go. And we are seeing very positive. So we moved most of our traditional marketing monies. So it was a 50-50 ratio. Now we've actually moved it to 70-30, 70 to digital. And I think we've seen much better returns. And I think way forward, at least for the next 2 to 3 years, we think this is the way to go.
Ankur, you want to jump in?
Yeah. So for us, the ROAS has actually doubled between after the first wave and the second wave. I think customers were very focused in terms of us reaching out to them, and then they coming and buying on our website. So for us, the profitability in terms of our ad spends versus the return has actually been very good.
Better. Yeah. No, fantastic. So I'm hearing positive from 4. Lalit, are you going to be the contrarian voice, or are you also you're smiling?
No, so see, there are wastages which happens, but for us, largely unorganized or the retail piece helps us also to get a lot of organic orders. So if you look at the complete ROAS, definitely it comes out more better. And also otherwise, ROAS is good, but because our the money spent, because our ticket size is so small, it becomes a little larger as far as the percentage is concerned. So percentage wise, it becomes very unattractive.
Correct. Okay. Fair. So we started off at the bottom of this list. Let's go to the top. Right? The core premise of doing omni-channel, the first step you typically do is on this unified inventory piece, right? You want to make your inventory visible and available to as many channels as possible without creating additional inventory and holding costs. So that's supposed to be the core tenet of doing omni-channel, right? I don't know how that actually pans out. That's what the discussion today is, but let's talk about that for a second, which is how are things happening from a profitability when it comes to inventory, right? As a part of your cost component. Are you seeing gains there in terms of your inventory holding costs, your inventory utilization? Is that thesis really playing out? That omni-channel really helps to make inventory better utilized? Or is it like what Manisha is saying is half the time we're just spending, moving inventory, and it's actually adding to our costs rather than helping the bottom line? Want to hear thoughts? Manisha, go ahead.
Yeah, but to this, like I was mentioning, that did happen in the first lockdown. But currently, having the cost of saving on the inventory has really been good, whether the 3PP or whether on my own website. Because as I said, we've incentivized our store managers. So as soon as we get a customer, we know which city or whatever, if it's on our own website, and we talk to them. And sometimes we even shop, they have a scooter, they'll deliver. So there's a lot of savings now on that.
Yeah.
So
Manisha, there was a question in the chat, which I think we should address while you're on this point, which was, how are you incentivizing salespeople on this, right? Because when you think about inventory cost, right, you're making the inventory available to multiple channels, but you also have additional costs like sales incentives that are basically piling on for the same inventory, right, that you're making available, because the same inventory is being sold by multiple people, including marketplaces taking their commissions out of it.
Right,
so net, is this inventory really creating value, or we're not sure yet?
Well, we've had a double-edged benefit. One, we've given, so if the normal watch, if they sold it offline, which was, let's say they got 1 rupee as an incentive, here they get 25 paisa. Now, if they convert a customer who hasn't finished the shopping online, and we know that it's a dropped basket, and they convert him, they move it up to 50% of the normal offline billing. And the second benefit we had is training our people and upgrading the team that we had at the floor on how to ensure that when they pack a product, when they ship, and the conversation is recorded, everything on camera, and making sure when there are returns. So we polished up our team also very well, and the communication also excellently. So the offline has also benefited, and they get 0.25 to 0.50 of their normal incentive in the ship line.
Yep. Anybody else on the inventory costs? Positive, negative, don't know yet. Positive, Kavi?
Yeah. And especially
anything that sticks out in your mind in terms of how to quantify that positivity, or what are you seeing as outcomes with the inventory?
Yeah. See, just to give you a sense, let's look at Maharashtra. Maharashtra is around 30% of our business, right? And Maharashtra is shut, for all practical purposes, because most of our stores are online, right? So most of our stores are in malls, so it's more or less shut. Now, if that inventory would not be available through, opening it, so we have a store in Linking Road which we keep open for OMUNI. We are getting significant numbers, right? Otherwise, this inventory would have all opened and gone into a discounting on day one when the ESL would have opened. Now, even during these times when there is so much of discounting and all the big billion days and all the EORSs of the world which are happening, our full price business even this month on our website is quite good. So I think, and frankly, I don't know whether in your set of queries which you are coming to in terms of your profitability, I think the single biggest reason why OMNI would make sense for any one of us is to sell full price.
Full price, yeah.
That is the only reality. Baki everything is right. Baki everything is helping in cash flow, but it doesn't help in be profitable. So I think
we should pause there for a second, Kavi. I think you should lead this question along with Lalit, which is basically I was going to come to that next, which is you raised 2 points which are very, very important. One is and this is coming from a conversation just a couple of days ago with one of our customers that we enable for omnichannel, and I asked him the same question about inventory, and he said, "Look, similar to what you're saying, they're like this." He's like, "Maharashtra for us has become a dark state," and I said, "What do you mean?" They're like, "All my stores there are warehouses, right? I'm selling full price stuff out of Maharashtra, which I would have never been able to do before." So I think a lot of Maharashtra has become dark stores for us, for all of us, I'm assuming, whoever's doing this unified inventory. So, and his point was that from a net discounting point of view, digital pickup is actually decreasing his net discounting, which is the question I have for you guys, which is, Kavi, like you mentioned, and Lalit, like you were mentioning earlier, profitability challenges from a net discounting point of view. How do you see those changing? And guys, the rest of you can also chime in. But since you guys brought this up, net discounting going up, going down with more full price selling?
No,
I'm assuming going up, but are you seeing higher full price selling is the question, I guess.
No. I think the full price contribution and sell-throughs both have gone up, whether it's got third party or it's our own thing. But I guess obviously once we move to a full stack where everything is in our control completely, including the journey of the consumer. See, so around 70% of our business happens through our loyalty customers. Once we are able to track their journey online and offline both, I think especially for a brand like us, which is so strong, which has got a strong loyalty, program, I think it will be really high. So I am in a year's time, I'm looking at a 55 to 60% full price business through our websites. I think
Kavi, you're pushing us to another point which we'll come to later, which is, like you said, closing this loop, the loyalty and the lifetime value implication on profitability, right? Which I think is spot on. We'll come to that. Lalit, before that, I would love to jump into your point, which is, is your our gross margins increasing when it comes to things like net discounting?
Yeah, I mean, definitely we are primarily an honest retailer, so we don't have too much of discounting on the ground, neither in the offline world nor on the online world. So we don't have any too much of impact, and neither do we have any kind of thoughts. But yeah, largely what on the overall inventory piece, I mean, definitely I want to raise this point. There seems to be a lot of fraud pieces which are also happening, which definitely at times takes away or we get swayed away, in how do we handle that. How do you those returns and those things are troubling. But otherwise, I think inventory management and inventory definitely is getting leveraged more, and there is a benefit which is happening here.
Got it. Ankur, go ahead.
Adding on, just adding on. I think with or without the pandemic, with or without a good merchandising plan, the footfalls or the visits to a particular store have been for us so unpredictable that digitally connecting the inventory always has improved the return or the profitability for us. So having a connected inventory definitely has merit, irrespective of the pandemic.
Correct. Good. I want to jump to one line item next in the spirit of time, which has crept up into our P&Ls, I'm sure, in this new digital world, which is logistics cost, right? It kind of didn't exist in this offline world, but now we have to think about that line item in terms of your logistics cost and moving items around for customers. How has that changed? Obviously, that component has been introduced with digital channels because you're paying for the forward reverse logistics. But is that cost increasing, decreasing? Are you able to rationalize it in a manner now where models like fulfilling from store is helping that? So anybody seeing a drastic change in logistics cost, fairly flat, not moving, improving? What are we seeing?
So Mukul, honestly, I think the first quality sell-through improving is actually more than taking care of the logistic cost. What was really hurting is the returns. So I think what we really wanted to work was on the returns, and we realized that if we can get the size ratio better, and if we can get the consumers to understand our size and fits better, then probably we could help them reduce. So we about 18 months back, we tried a app on our website, and actually just to give them an understanding of how the product would fit for a guy who's a 32 waist, and what should be the shirt size, and what is our shirt size, and what are the other brands normally shirt size. So I think that comparison, that's one part which has helped. The second one was we realized that if you have a higher cash on delivery component, we were seeing a higher return percentage. So we said, how can we reward our consumers if they pay upfront? So we've introduced that, and we've seen a substantial reduction in returns when consumers are actually paying upfront, while we give away some additional points or some additional giveaways, but that's also helping our return. So I think we are in that process on saying how can we tweak some of the levers which could actually add to the profitability.
Yep, and you're spot on. A huge chunk of that logistics cost typically ends up being returns, where you're not recognizing revenue necessarily at times. Anybody else? Any comments on logistics before we move on? Yeah, Manisha, logistics costs.
We reduced our logistics cost simply by changing. So not during lockdown, we have COD only allowed till 5,000 to 7,000 rupees. Above that is prepaid. But what we did was we incentivized the prepaid customers with 5%, because discounts is not in our control. The brands offer the discount, and so we had that 5% basket to that would saved on the logistics. So what we saved there sort of flattened out the discount we offered.
Yeah. See, we ship from store. Yeah, go ahead, Ankur.
So I think having a local shipping compared to a national shipping always has benefits. So no questions asked. Local inventory.
Kitna delta, Ankur? what's the kind of delta you see? I mean, just to kind of, give the audience a comparison, what kind of,
local shipping
distance,
is 50% cheaper than national shipping.
50% cheaper. Yep.
Plus
that's
the carbon dioxide emissions when you ship something from north to south. That's one angle, which is also from a sustainability perspective, but I'll not talk about that. Purely in terms of national shipping for a 500-gram product would be somewhere around 75 just forward, but local will be around 35-40 rupees. So there is a
Yep. And guys, any thoughts, guidance on what part of your what part of your ship logistics, forward and reverse, is happening locally versus nationally? What percentage of your digital orders are being shipped locally rather than from warehouses or kind of pan India? Is there any guidance from you guys in terms of what you're seeing? Any significant shifts there?
Yeah, almost 60% happening from stores.
Yeah. Isn't that great? I mean, for a value retailer, that's a significant cost savings, I'm assuming, and also from a customer experience.
Yeah, so that was the primary thought process of our whole omni-channel. We never wanted to go through warehouse, but we were compelled to get into warehouse post the pandemic and all. But yeah, still there are issues in spite of our system getting connected to the nearest customer and nearest store. But in small town, I found the logistic partners are very not as agile as the larger town people are. So there the pickups are delayed, and that delays the TAT also. So there are still challenges on the logistic from the store if it is a small town logistic delivery. Where they don't have a hub and stuff.
Correct. So we have, I think, probably about another question, and then we'll switch to some audience questions if there are any. I want to tackle the other large bucket, which typically comes at the end of this list along with marketing, which is your technology cost, right? Typically, these are capex costs that are kind of amortized, so it hits your P&L in different ways. But it is a significant component because all the things we're talking about here, the list of lightning round features we talked about, requires investment in technology people, vendors. And that can or cannot be a big cost component of profitability depending on how you do it. So if I look at across even your e-commerce sites as a collective, we have Shopify in there, we have Magento in there. Kavi mentioned Salesforce, which is a heavy enterprise solution. You guys are investing in new technologies in the back end to make some of these future journeys come to life. How do you think about the return on technology spend there? Because I think we are always having this discussion in India, which is, do we go enterprise? Do we go kind of DIY? Do you find this middle ground? And we have a lot of technology options, given that we are a technology-enabled country where we have these options enabled. How do you guys think about that? How do you justify, from a profitability point of view, how much money you want to put into getting these returns from omnichannel? Any thoughts there, Kavi?
Mukul, I think we are in a situation. It's like, for example, if you don't take oxygen, would you live or not? I don't think this is the cost. If we have to be relevant to the consumer set to whom we, and I'm talking especially about my customer base, and I'm sure it's true for everyone. If you have to be relevant for the current consumer base and the Gen X who are going to come up going forward, if we are not the Gen Z, if we are not technologically savvy, I don't think it's going to work for any one of us. So I don't even think this as a cost. I think it's
कैसे सोचते हो कभी? I mean, I see as a leader, you'll have to think about how much am I willing to spend? What's that framework in terms of technology investment that you're willing to do?
No, so for me, I think the first is what is the consumer experience I want to give. That is the starting point. उसके लिए whatever has to be done, and that's an investment for the future. So मेरे लिए जो आज investment है वो अगले 2 years में that's the profit line item. So I have ensured that within our organization and wherever we speak, we don't think as a cost. And even these pandemic times with all the toughness and the cash flow issues, we are investing quite heavily in this because there is a courage of conviction and a belief that this is required to be done. Cost, because if we would have taken it as a cost, we would have deferred it.
Correct.
By maybe 2 seasons or 3 quarters or whatever it is.
Correct.
So I think this is for being relevant. Now,
and you're buying a not cheap solution, right? Salesforce is not cheap by any means. It's a global behemoth.
And we are not compromised with the kind of vendors with whom we are working or the partners. It is best in class because this is required for. This is like a building base for which we will
Yeah.
catapult, right?
Sure.
So
I want to take a contrarian opinion on this. Anybody on the other spectrum, which is go light, go fast, right? Like focus on, not necessarily something that, would take a lot of money and time. Anybody on that end of the spectrum? Because obviously there are different approaches to doing this. Manisha, you've chosen Shopify as a platform. I'm assuming for some of the.
So luckily, I'll say that we had a cheat sheet. My daughter started their own e-commerce site in 2016, and we went through the whole cycle. I was with them. They set up one website, not happy. Within 2 years, they changed, and we knew the cost. And also, my business forum said, if you're launching, go with Shopify. You do all your learning. You understand what the right things are. So we went with that. We have a tech partner on the Shopify thing, so everything that can be customized. We even got Shopify Gold. So it was best to go slow and then, keep adding. So, adding the chat box, the fresh chat, going with an integration and an Omni, so that we were with Find, as you know, and so a lot of these tech things we added, but it was necessary that we went in small portions. We had talks with Salesforce, but we are not a brand of our own. We are selling other people's brands. So we had to have the edge where we gave a better experience than the same brand that has it. And that's where we decided to go, but we went carefully on every aspect.
Satyen, Ankur, I want to hear on this from your end also. You have obviously global mandates in technology. You get to kind of learn and share best practices. How do you guys look at this technology investment decision? How much of it is driven by India realities versus global mandates? And how do you think about the return on your technology spend from a profitability point of view?
Yeah, Mukul. So as like Kavi said, I think this is something which we could really not compromise. And I think we are used to spending 4,000 rupees a square feet and 3,500 rupees a square feet setting up stores. And I think setting up this wasn't really as not very different. And in fact, this is something which is going to be useful across all our doors. So I think what we really did is, Mukul, we went back to our digital blueprint and said, what are the investments? We had a lot of plans of actually making the store an experience center, and all those we actually have cut down in the last 18 to 24 months. And we said, how can we really invest in the back end instead of actually strengthening too much, making the store digitally savvy? We said we will actually park those monies towards actually strengthening our omni-channel efforts and setting up the back end and including our CRM upgrade to Solus and getting AI, getting to understand the consumer better so that we can actually have a better relationship and understand hyper personalization when we really get to that. So I think the investment shift has happened here. And as I said, I think we said we will really do a lesser say expansion on a brick and mortar, but spend some money here and strengthen our digital play, especially on the Omni. That's our approach.
For us also, like Kavi and Satyen are saying, I think it's the base, it's a necessity, something which you can't do away with. Only thing is, we have kind of prioritized all the revenue generation and all the customer facing spends, whether they are OPEX or CAPEX led. And that is what we have focused on for the last 1.5, 2 years. I don't think any business had the luxury of deferring digital spends infinitely over the last 2 years. In fact, what I see and what I hear is that most of them have expedited those spends in the last 2 years to sustain themselves in a situation which was in 2020 really, really unknown to every business. So it's just that revenue generation and customer facing spends have got expedited and increased for us globally also and in India as well.
Fantastic to hear your thoughts, guys. We're touching the top of the hour, so I'll open it up to questions from the audience. It's a good time to kind of take a few from the audience. So, any questions, folks in the audience? And you can use the chat. Sorry, Anurama, any questions from the audience that we can take?
Yeah. There's one in the Q&A. Yeah. So somebody is asking, I would love your thoughts on current inflation and cost of goods impacting the garment industry. Price increase is happening while customer buying power is lowering. How will this situation settle in the long term? Yeah.
Anybody in particular want to jump in on this? Is this affecting anybody in particular that they'd like to comment on? Everyone's smiling. I'm not sure exactly why.
Everyone, Mukul. It's affecting everyone, definitely impacting more to the value retailers because the skill cost was lesser and the raw material cost was higher, which is getting higher. So yeah, it is definitely affecting, and it is not a very motivating news. And beyond that, we are also listening that the government is trying to also raise up the GST duty structure on apparel from 5% to 12 and then 16. So there is a lot to come, and it is going to hound us.
So I think maybe so just adding up to what Lalit is saying, why is everybody smiling? Because you can only smile. You can't do anything about it.
You can't do anything about it.
because what's not in your control, you can only request and do an advocacy, right? You can't do anything beyond that. But what you can definitely do is maybe try and look at offering the best possible consumer experience, because at the end of the day, Mukul, the reality is that it is not that India is heavily penetrated. There is always going to be, there are enough and more customers. So for example, in the good times, all companies gain market share. In the bad times, the good companies gain market share. So as long as you are true to your purpose and you are offering the consumer a great experience, you should not feel very let down by it. So I think that's why all the investments, all of us efforts we are trying to do to ensure again, whether from the product perspective or from the technology perspective, offline, online, consumer service. And besides the whole talk on Omni, we have got more than 1,000 points of sale where even today, every day the salesperson is going and she's taking the risk of Corona or whatever and selling. I think as long as we keep them motivated, that's the way. I think वो क्या हो रहा है inflation का वो अपने control में नहीं है. The point of consumer interaction has to be the best. That is the only thing which, as marketers or as brand people, we can ensure and we should focus on. Everything else we should leave to the God and smile.
Sure. I hope that answers the question. I didn't see any other questions in the chat, so I'm going to ask the last question, which is the most important one that we moved forward to based on what Kavi was saying, which was this Uber idea called customer lifetime value, right? Which is, if you look at our businesses, we sell stuff from a day-to-day point of view, right? We're in the business of selling stuff, but really, if you pull up for a second, the job to be done here as retailers and brands is not really selling stuff; it's owning customers, right? Our success depends on owning customers in the future, right? That loyalty component of it, because we are only as relevant as the amount of loyalty we have to our brands and retail formats, right? And really, that ends up being, should be our ultimate motivation in doing some of the things we do, including omnichannel. So if you pull up from that frame of mind, which is the holy grail of doing omnichannel is owning your customer across channels, across experiences, then the question behooves us to think about all the things we are doing, right? Is that making an impact in the way we think about customer lifetime value? Because that ultimately is the long-term profitability we're talking about, not just short-term P&Ls, right? And so I want to hear, Kavi mentioned this earlier, and it's a very, very valid point, is how do you guys think about the long-term profitability imperatives of doing omnichannel? Are you seeing that lifetime value already kind of turning around? Are you able to track it and measure it? Or are we still in the stage of investments where we are hoping it'll come later, right? I would love to hear from you in terms of where you are in that stage of kind of thinking about lifetime value. Kavi, you can obviously start. I cut you off earlier. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mukul. So we do try and keep a track of. So obviously, as I said, we are not completely integrated right now. So there are a lot of gaps right now. But the effort. So once we are able to do the whole POS and the website, everyone having the same backend, right? And the systems talk to each other. I think we should be at least doubling the lifetime value, if not more. We have got a fair idea of the lifetime value of our offline loyalty base, like fairly strong data points are there because we run the program very, very strongly. But I think with two things of tracking her customer journey across online and offline both, and by customizing and personalizing offers for her, not only in terms of discount, but more important in terms of the products which she likes to buy, and then tracking it. So once we are able to do that, maybe in 3 to 4 months time, once the whole stack is up and ready, I think we should be doubling the lifetime value. That customer journey is good for us right now. I think it will become better once we are able to get the full view. So quite confident on that.
Can I switch gears to Lalit on this? From Anita Dongre, which probably has a stickier segment in audience, to value retail. How do you is lifetime value something that you actively think about, Lalit, and is that kind of moving in your opinion?
Yeah, Mukul. So largely being also in small town, our customer doesn't have so much of money at a single point of time, so they do distributed buying, and for us, definitely the frequency is very important, and we believe, and we want to chase them, we want to understand them, and their trust. That's the denomination of how much do they trust us, and trust is what drives them to the store back. So LTV is definitely the most important criteria. Still not doing the complete LTV, which is including the omni channel or the online piece, but which is easier and could be done, and then we are integrating both of those. But yeah, this is going to be definitely very, very important, and omni is certainly going to add up to the lifetime value, because omni makes customer convenient at any point of time, so that they don't switch over to other channels, and if they are loyal to you, they could actually explore that possibility. So that is definitely something on our cards.
Sure. Rest of you folks, any thoughts on lifetime value before we part ways? Still trying
No, so
to.
Mukul, I think Mukul, as we said, experience of continuous commerce and how can we really delight the consumer at every point of connect is going to really help us actually get consumer, elevate the entire consumer shopping experience. And I think we all know that the more the times you touch upon a consumer in different media ways, you touch base with the consumer, the opportunity to sell will only go up. And I think we would really get to that much better with mobility converging with on mobile. And I think Mukul, we are confident that these investments will definitely help. Like we've been able to track the lifetime value on the offline on our CRM programs, we will be able to see much better returns, stronger returns, and a more unified consumer understanding with this investment. So I think it will only be possible.
And we leave this session on an old marketing adage, which is, there's always this saying in marketing, which is, a consumer wants a hole, not a drill, right? Yeah. Drilling a hole, right? They're looking for a hole. The drill is just a way to get there, right? Yeah. And that's really, I think, the thought that keeps all of us as leaders awake is, are we giving consumers the experience that's required for loyalty, right? Because they want that experience from us, right? They want to be able to get a better way of shopping, easier, convenient, faster, and at times more effective way of shopping, right? Omni-channel is just one of those means. It's the drill to kind of get us there. But if we keep
there, I think we need to also bring in some store. How do you digitalize the store experience, and how do you better your offline store experience? Because it's not only about providing digital, but also about providing better physical and digital physical. So that's the new key word that we are also trying to look at.
Correct. And I think that behooves us to think about, we talk about profitability sometimes pretty tactically, right? Which is logistics and, forward and returns and cancellations. But the ultimate goal here really has to be around this idea of lifetime value, right? Which is how do we really change the paradigm in the way customers experience us and are loyal to us. And I think omni-channel is what I hear from you guys, at least a step in the right direction of the drill to get us there. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time, and it's wonderful to see that you guys are safe, sound, and the businesses are doing well. Thank you for your great points in this discussion, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay safe.